Okay, welcome everyone. As we learn now the special segment known as For the Shabbos Table, made possible by the Rubin family, who gives a special grant for this year, and they asked that we should be mispalel, that they should be zeicher to a ben zacher, to a healthy male child, and also they should have hatzlach and ruchnias and gashmias. We also learn L'Refuah Shalema from Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradel and Rivka Bashira Leah and Dvar Bashashabina. They should have a L'Refuah Shalema b'seif Shar Chayla Yisrael. The Tufka Yabiu in this week's parsha, it's one of Rav Zilberstein's most early svarim when he broke out on the world with a bang. He cites the Steipler Gaon, that the Steipler Gaon once heard. The Steipler Gaon was the Kelis Yaakov, one of the Gdolei Adar, that he once heard that his grandson was going to daven by the Kaiser. So he said, please, my Einikel, when you're daven, tisker gam oisi b'tfilascha. Mention me also in your prayers. So, as we would expect, the grandson was like shocked. The Zayda has a much bigger connection with the Rabbeinu Shalom. The Zayda doesn't need to mention him in my prayers. So the Steipler corrected him. And he said to him, you have to know, Ein tefillah chayzeres rekan. No prayer is turned back empty-handed. Every prayer has power. And you should know, you davening for me in the Makom Kodesh of the Kaisel, your prayer might do the trick. Because no prayer is turned back. Hashem listens to every prayer. I thought it was a very powerful idea. Vayosher be'einav taseh. If you do, what is upright in the eyes of Hashem. Yashrus means being straight. Yashar. You know, in Eretz Yisrael, the driver says, where should I go? And you tell him, go Yashar, straight. Don't turn right, don't turn left. Yashar, straight. If a person does what's straight in the eyes of Hashem. Rav Zilberstein says that one time when he was in his youth, he davened at the Vasikin Minyan in Tveria. And the Rav of Tveria, Rav Werner, he came in late. He came in late near Shemona Esrei. So after davening, he walked over to the young Rav Zilberstein and he said to him, you are probably wondering why I came in so late. So he says, I want you to know I was ready early to come to shul, but as I was about to leave, my little baby started crying. You have a little infant, started crying. And my wife was still sleeping. I was worried that if my wife wakes up suddenly from the crying of the baby, she might inadvertently yell at the baby or get upset. And even if not, I have a mitzvah with my wife of a haftal re'acha kamoicha. She's never so tired, so fayukt. I have a mitzvah to let her sleep a little bit. On the other hand, I knew that if the Rav of Tveria comes into shul late, it looks like a Chilul Hashem. I had to make a balance. I had to weigh it. And my decision was the Shalom Bayis Odif Tvei. That my concern for Shalom Bayis has to be more. And Rav Zilberstein said, this is an example of how we have to always weigh things to make a decision. We always have choices. We have to weigh them. And I'm quoting this story because you see once again how important Shalom Bayis is. We know what Chilul Hashem is. We know that even Misa, even Tshuva and Yom Kippur and Yisurin is not mechaper for Chilul Hashem. So Chilul Hashem is a very weighty thing. But Shalom Bayis, Adif Tvei. Shalom Bayis is a very big consideration. Remember, if there's no Shalom, there's nothing. That's a Rashi in Bechukoisai. Rashi says, Im ein Shalom ein klum. If there's no Shalom, there's nothing. That's why every morning, in the biggest bracha in davening, you know what the biggest bracha in davening is? The bracha on the sun. The bracha of Yotzer HaMa'oros is a very long bracha. We start that bracha by saying, Yotzer or Varei Choshech, Oise Shalom Uvarei Esakol. So Shalom is pitted against everything. So it's worth sacrificing almost everything for Shalom. You know that Rav Frand once made a comment that there's no chumrah worth sacrificing your Shalom Bayis for. It's a very, very important idea to remember. Kol hamachla asher samti b'Mitzrayim lo osem alecha ki ani Hashem roifecha. This is another powerful vignette, a historical vignette. The great Tzvas Emes. People spend every Shabbos learning the Tzvas Emes on Chumash. The Heilige Ger Rebbe, the Tzvas Emes. The Tzvas Emes passed away very young. The Tzvas Emes passed away at 56. And he passed away from a mysterious disease. The doctors had no clue what was wrong with him. They never diagnosed it. He passed away from a mysterious disease. So at the time, one of the great Hasidic Gedolim was the Avnei Nezer, the Heilige Sachatshavar Rebbe, Zech Tzadik Levracha Schus Yagen Aleinu. The Avnei Nezer said, listen to what he said. He said it's understandable why the Tzvas Emes had to pass away from a mysterious, enigmatic disease. Because, of course, the Tzvas Emes had thousands of Chassidim. And they came to him to pray for them. And that means that the Tzvas Emes prayed for every conceivable disease, dialysis and cancers and leukemias. He prayed for every conceivable disease. And it says, whoever prays and they need it themselves, they're answered first. So therefore Hashem couldn't give the Tzvas Emes any known disease. For any known disease, he prayed for one chassid or another. And Kol HaMispal Bar Chaver Therefore, Avnei Nezer said he had to have a mysterious disease that nobody ever heard of, that he never prayed for. Now, of course, while this is a fascinating historical vignette, it really urges us to remember how powerful it is to pray for other people. You know, pray for people that they should be able to pay their mortgage. Pray for people that they should have shalom in their homes. Pray for people that they shouldn't get Alzheimer's. They shouldn't get dementia. That's a very big thing. We're living in a retirement community. People are getting older. Pray for people that they should have, till their last day, they should have full cognition. And when we do that, it's an investment for ourselves. And especially, make sure to pray for your wife. Make sure to pray for your husband. Ishta kegufay. You know, it says in the Torah the word davak, loyalty, twice. V'davak b'ishtay, u'ledavka bay, which is talking to Rabbi Shalom, is loyalty to Hashem and loyalty to a wife. Part of the loyalty to a spouse is that every tefillah, when you say Shema Keleinu, have in mind your wife, have in mind your husband. When you say Sim Shalom, the Miller used to say that Sim Shalom is not just peace in the world. It's not just world peace. And it's not just peace between husband and wife, that they shouldn't fight like cats and dogs. Sim Shalom also means peace of mind. There are many people that are tormented and they don't have peace of mind. That's why there's so many therapists in the world. There are a lot of tormented people in this world. Sim Shalom means peace of mind. I'm going to tell you a story. You know, every minute of life is precious. Because as long as we're on this world, we could earn eternity. Meisim are chafshim min ha-mitzvos. Meisim are free from the mitzvahs. Hayom la'asoisam, this now is to do, to accomplish, u'mocha lekabel scharam. In the next world, we get reward. But this is the time. And the story I'm going to tell you now, there was a mashgiach in Kashrus, that was in one of the hotels, or one of the Hari Yerushalayim, one of the mountains of Yerushalayim. And he took it a responsibility to make sure that there was a mincha every day. It was a hard job, you know. It's a transient situation. People are coming, people are going, and it was always working. Mish, look in Mishberach, we say, Misha miyachei batei knesset yisrael svila. What a big thing it is to make a minyan. Right? So he made a mincha. One day, he had 9, and he was looking for that center, you know, for that 10th yid. And it wasn't coming. And it was getting late. All of a sudden, there shows up a peasant wearing shorts, and but you could see he was a Jew. He said to him, "Do you want to be our 10th?" He had no idea what he was talking about. 10th, you know? Your baseball team has 9, you know. 10th. So they explained to him what a minyan is. So he said, okay. He came in. As soon as he came in, a bacher showed up. A bar mitzvah boy came in, and they told him, thank you, we have 10. And he left. Okay? 10 years go by. 10 years. This mashgiach kashrus already left the hotel business, and he was living in Bnei Brak. And he has a dream. 10 years later, a decade later, he has a dream. And he recognizes this peasant who comes to him in the dream. He said he passed away a month ago. And his face was shining. And he says, I want you to know how much reward I'm getting that I tried to make your minyan. And he said, because I tried to make the minyan, they gave me permission to come back in a dream to you and to tell you that I have a ben yochid, an only son, that's completely chiloni. He's completely secular. I'm going to give you his address, and he gave the address in the dream. Go to his house and ask him in my name to please say Kaddish for me. And I was given permission to do this and to come back because I made that minyan. And he said, I can't be that. But he went to the address and the man's son was there. He said, look, I don't know you. I would have never known where you live. But your father came back to me in a dream. He told him the story that happened 10 years ago. And he said he prevailed upon you. He asked me to prevail upon you to say Kaddish. And the young man was so shaken that he said Kaddish for the year. Now, of course, this story, it's significant on so many levels. I mean, here's a report from reward from the next world, but it also shows, sometimes I make an announcement over here, maybe you could wait and help us out in the second minyan. And it means coming out of the house a second time, but everything is recorded. It's really remarkable. It really is, this story is written up. And it's really a remarkable story. It shows, he gave him the address. He would have never known the address. Now I'm going to talk to you about something. In the Shira, when we're thanking Hashem for destroying the 9 million Egyptians and saving our lives, we say, Sus v'rach v'irama v'yam. The horse and his rider were cast in the sea. So, first of all, what did the horses do wrong? That they were punished. That's a Shem Mishmuel asked the question. Now, Rashi says, on the pasuk, Sus v'rach v'irama v'yam, that the rider became attached to the horse. He couldn't extricate himself. And they together were plunged into the sea. But also there's another question. We're so used to saying sus v'roichvai. But why doesn't it say roichev v'susai? The rider and his horse. I mean, what's more important? What does it say? The horse and its rider. The rider and its horse. We're so used to saying sus v'rachvai, the horse and its rider, but it should be the other way around. So let me tell you a remarkable medrash brought down by the Rekeach. Not the Rekeach, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you a remarkable Medrash Tatshe. The Medrash Tatshe says that when the Egyptians saw that the sea started acting funny, they said, let's get out of here. And let's run out of here. The waters are going to come crashing down. And Hashem sent malachim that looked like female horses. And the horses had the hots for the female horses and started running after the female horses, and they started running into the yam. So instead of being able to go turn back and get out of there, they started plunging, and that's why it says sus v'roichvai, because the horses led the riders. It's interesting that the Medrash Rabbah, this was a Medrash Tatshe, the Medrash Rabbah says it a little bit with a change. The Medrash Rabbah says that Hashem made the waves look like female horses. And the horses ran at the waves. Now, either way, by the way, we see that it's an act of promiscuity that brought about their downfall. That the horses wanted the females. Well, it was an interesting thing that the Rabbeinu Shalom made malachim like female horses, or the waves like female horses. He could have made that the malachim should push the horse and the riders in. Why did he make it that the horses should see females? Because again, it's midah keneged midah. Because Mitzrayim was an eretz shtufei zima, a land that was very promiscuous, and therefore it was promiscuity that brought about their death. That's a midah keneged midah. The Shemesh Shmuel says that the horses, this generation that drowned in the Yam Suf, they were a generation that put the babies into the walls of Pithom and Ramses when the Jews were short bricks. But the generation that threw the babies in the Nile, they died already. That was 80 years ago. So the Shemesh Shmuel says they came back as Gilgulim of horses. And that's why they were punished, because they were a Gilgul of those Egyptians. That's what the Shemesh Shmuel says. It's also possible, this takes us to Shaul. Remember when Shaul was told to kill Amalek, he spared animals. And the Navi told him, why do you do that? Hashem said to wipe everyone out. So the Mefarshim says, what would be so bad if he spared the animals? He says that there were Amalekis that used kishuf and disguised themselves as animals. It could very well be that there was Egyptians that used kishuf and disguised themselves as horses. So sus v'rach v'yirama v'yam. Now, on this medrash about the waves looking like female horses, I want to tell you something. It's not so far to Pesach. Okay? Thursday is Tu B'Shvat. A month later from Tu B'Shvat is Shushan Purim. And a month later is Pesach. So, we're already... people like Michal Avrama is already breaking out the Megillus and the Haggadahs. You have to, if you're a smart person. You got to break out the Megillus. You got to break out some people break out the Hamantash and the macaroons. But people that are smart, they break out the Megillus and the Haggadahs. I already have my Haggadahs. I'm already getting excited. So in the Haggadah it says, Zroya Netuya, when it says that Hashem had a outstretched arm, Zuah Cherev. That's the sword. Question is, what sword are we referring to? Zroya Netuya, an outstretched arm, Zuah Cherev. What sword? So the Dvar Aaron, Zech Tzadik U'Kodesh V'Brachos Chus Yagen Aleinu Hashem Yimkim Damai, he says it's referring to Makas B'Chayros. Because in the Pasuk it says, Hinei Anoichi Hoyreg Es Bincha B'Charecha. I will kill your firstborn son. And we know that he brings down from Sanhedrin, we're learning it now, that the execution called Hereg, beheading, is done with a sayif, is done with a sword. So that's so when it says Zoy Netuya Zua Hereg, that refers to Makas B'Chayros. Reb Chaim Kanievsky has a different pshat. Chaim Kanievsky says that there's a medrash that said that when in there's a medrash that says that by the Yam Suf, Hashem made the waves like swords. And when the waves crashed down on the Mitzrayim, it was like swords that crashed down on the Mitzrayim. And that's what it means, Uzroya Natuya Zuaherek. Now, this makes a very big difference. Because every morning, when we put on our tefillin shel yad, we have in mind al yad, on the hand, l'zichroin zroya netuya. Have in mind Hashem's outstretched hand. So according to the Dvar Aaron, it means having in mind makas b'chayris. And according to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, it means that the waves were like swords that attacked the Mitzrayim. It's a nafkamina, and when we put on tefillin every morning. I'm going to conclude with something that we say in Ezra Savoseinu every morning. Chol Avram wisely has out his siddur. You might want to turn to Ezras before you look at the tefillin. In Ezras we say, we reflect on the miracles at the Yam Suf, and we say, Zaydim Tibata, the willful you drowned, Vididim Havarta, and your beloved ones you crossed across the sea. Right? Vayechasu mayim tzareihem, and the waters covered our enemies. Echad mehem lo naiser, even one didn't survive. Big kasha on this. It's out of order. It says Zaydim Tibata, you drowned the willful person. Vididim Havarta, and you crossed your beloved. And then it says Vayechasu mayim tzareihem. But they didn't drown before we crossed. That was the idea. We crossed, and then they entered, and then they were drowned. So it would make sense if it said Vidinim Havarta, Vayechasu mayim tzareihem, but beforehand it says Zaydim Tibata. You drowned the willful ones, but you didn't drown them before we crossed. You drowned them after we crossed, right? After we crossed safely, then you brought the waves splashing down. So why does it say Zaydim Tibata first? It's a very big kasha. Very big kasha. So remember earlier in the night I quoted the Rekeach. The Rekeach is a Rishon. So first let me tell you what the pasuk says. It's a pasuk, it's a Rashi that many people miss. Vayomer Mitzrayim, the Egyptians said, Anusa, we better get out of here. Anusa mipnei b'nei Yisrael. Ki Hashem nilcham lahem b'Mitzrayim. For Hashem is battling them b'Mitzrayim. What do you mean b'Mitzrayim? Hashem is battling them at the Yam Suf. What does it mean? Ki Hashem nilcham lahem b'Mitzrayim. It's a strange passage. So Rashi says, Kishem shalaku b'yam, just like the Mitzrayim were killed at the sea, kak laku elu shenisharu b'Mitzrayim. Hashem also attacked those that stayed in Egypt. Only 9 million came out. There were more Egyptian oppressors in Egypt. Hashem killed them in Egypt too, but nobody says, how did Hashem kill them in Egypt? What happened? They just dropped dead? So Rekach brings an incredible medrash. Rekach says first, the Yam Suf became a tsunami. And it flooded Egypt and killed those that were in Egypt. Then afterwards it drowned the Egyptians here. And now with this Rekach we understand what we say in Ezras. Zaydim Tibata, the willful ones in Egypt you drowned. Vididim Havarta, then your beloved ones you crossed the Red Sea. And then Vayechasu mayim tzareihem, then you covered those that came in afterwards. Echad mehem lo naiser. So there it is in davening, but you have to know this medrash from the Rekeach that first the sea went and drowned those in Egypt in order to understand what we say every day in davening. Amazing, amazing. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Of course, again, thank the Rubin family for making this segment possible. And I also want to say that we do not have yet a sponsor for Parashas Yisro, for the Parasha of Aseres HaDibros. If you want to sponsor, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Daf Yomi Motzi Shabbos is at 8:15. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night and a good Shabbos.